Hello, Anne-Chloé.
Hello, Christine. Hi.
We are here coming together, two warriors, two sorcerers, two queens with our kings on our sides, and we want to dive into our relationships and share about what we're gonna do. And I'm really happy that we can just do this while we have a coffee. Even there's no coffee standing next to my computer at the moment, but I'm enjoying a coffee anyway. So virtually. And yeah, I I have this question like what is it because I'm interested in rituals, what couples can implement in their lives. So I'm really curious, what kind of experiments did you do which already um, implemented into your daily life with your partner? Like what worked and what is already just like is daily business, but
Mhm.
was an experiment before or was a ritual?
The first thing that comes to mind when you say that, in that we met in a community, and so there was this whole question about meals, like how do we have meals together, and I had lived for many years as a student where I got to just eat whenever I was hungry and eat whatever I want, and I didn't have to negotiate that with anybody. And one day he said something such as, I'm glad that we do not that our boxes, like our comfort zone, our priorities, our, whatever we want to, like my thing of, I'm just going to eat whenever I want, whatever I want, and and it's this non-negotiation, like this non-separation. And he said, oh, I'm glad we're not letting our box this, decide when we eat, and that it is part of our negotiated that, like part of our negotiation and our intimacy, that we have 2 meals together per day. And we decided to have 2 meals. And I didn't realize that we had negotiated that, but when he said that, it hit me of, it is sacred. Eating together is sacred. And especially when we both have really busy life and we can be in the front of the computer and just eat a little thing in front of the computer. And it's like, and it's a pause in this busy, and coming together, cooking the food, and then meeting each other. Really, we have this meeting each other before we start the food, and that's our space. Whatever happens during the day, and so I'm not saying that could be, that would work for everybody, but what I realized, to have dedicated spaces for connection, for being with, and having this also unknown space of no question. I mean, sometimes we talk shop, like we talk work, but I also have learned to not do that too much, to say, okay, we can talk about like logistics or processes or whatever, and that let's leave this space open, like a silence first, and see what comes up. So that would be one ritual that I have found grounding, really
And
grounding.
is it
Mhm.
so that you would come together and say, okay, this is a space for sharing and being together and not logistics of, I don't know, training spaces which are ahead? It's like, it's really like this distinction of this is your couple partner spaceship, kind of, besides the partner working spaceship. It's like, is it something like this, that it's really declared, and it's for sure not a rule, but it's kind of this, okay, let's keep it, like you also said, open, but in a way of open, not to regulate it, and also to dedicate it in you and him time, like,
Yeah,
Mm.
I lots of things is coming up for me, especially, and I say that I don't really know. I'm talking about my experience that I'm a space holder, and I've noticed that women a lot are space holders for the logistics in the house. So we know what needs to be handled, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be washed, what needs to be, it's part, I think it is also part of our nature, like part of our archetypal nature to be this kind of space holder, and then having this thing of then telling the men to do them. So, and then he fixes the washing machine and the plumbing and things like that. And so I ongoingly have this list of things going on inside of me. And when I don't pay attention, they can just kind of pop up and say, well, okay, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And they can fill very quickly the space. And so part of our, it's sort of bigger than the meal space, is that part of our agreement for our life, or my life with him, is let's have logistics. About 5% of our time can be dedicated to logistics. Mm-hmm. This is 5%, and it's not a rule, so it's just a sense, but it is a part of a rule of engagement of our space of relationship, and it's like, it's fabulous. Mm. It's fabulous to just have it like that, so that when and he, I know he sort of catches me when I'm like rambling on this logistic, and he said, can we just, and he says, can we have a space where it's about us? So it's not about outside, it's about, let's see what's going on here and now. And then I can then turn off, like sort of turn down this logistics machine, which is never ending. Like there's always the next thing and the next thing. And yeah, so that's definitely in it. I think it's easy to lose ourselves in logistics because it's safe. It's safe, it's about decision making, and it's also it's a mind conversation. So it's about decision and solutions and problems, and I noticed that often when this logistic turns up, it's because there's a fear of going back to nothing, or going back to a space of presence or a space of being. And even today we were in the car, and those things, like even the same thing about who's going to cook for our next training was coming up. And I said, no, it says the fear is trying to cover up the fear of being in silence in the car and see what is really bubbling up. And then we were in the car, and I said, I have so many ideas. I just said that. And he said, I'm interested. And so we just arrived, we were parking, and then he held the space for me to start, like, okay, and what about this? And we can do this in the next space. And so it opened up for something unknown. It opened up for something unknown. And there's this, for me, there's this skill, also this playfulness of when I wouldn't say comfortable, but when I've learned to fall into this nothing space, into this presence and this feeling, like experiencing myself, experiencing the space, experiencing him, to have as a practice to go back to that, then I can also play with creating the space that I want, and having those amazing like magic doors of, I have so many ideas, and also checking, okay, how much attention does he have to receive that? And often when I say stuff like that, he just stops everything and gives me that attention, so the space can open. So yeah.
How scary is this? And scary, and also very powerful and alive, it sounds like. Yeah.
I want to hear about you, about what, because it seems like it was somehow a question that was important to you. or something that you're researching or experimenting about this ritual?
Yes, yeah. Like what I at the beginning, like I did not really know. We placed like this fundament of having deals with each other, but it was like having deals is like our agreements, and what do we do with this, right? Like how can we practice this radical honesty? Like what, how would this be? And um, and for example, we implemented something which was at the beginning more like an experiment, but now it's a ritual to before we sleep, we are sharing our highlights of the day. Like, so because it was like I want um, to go not like from daily business into sleep, and I want to really honor the day, and also not just what I did with others, what is also like I'm taking kind of I'm sharing with him what I did when he was not part, but I also share with him which moment with him were really extraordinary, what was so important for me. And I realized through the years that it's actually sometimes so small moments are so valuable for myself, and for him it would or might have been just a moment together, but for me it was a life changer, and that he knows that it made really a difference. So because then he could do this maybe again, or like in another way, or like he had a new reference point. And the same for me, like when he speaks, and gives me the reference points, I really see that we are also functioning differently, and we are honoring different things also in different phases of our life. And it's so like I can learn even more. Like it's kind of also harvesting what is in the group, kind of the group intelligence. It's like the couple's intelligence. And um, I would always like I'm always giving these experiments to my clients, for example, because it really works for me and makes such a difference. And I told and as I honor everything what was there, even sometimes it's not just what I'm the highlights, but actually the high lowlights. So what was really hurting me and what needs to be said has also part, right? Like sometimes I really need to share what I could not share in the moment, but what I want to I want to release myself, like to be really, I don't know, round the day up, that I can easily use the momentum going into sleep without like some tension in me, in the way of I did not tell him or I was not honest enough or something. And so this was also like an agreement that we are not going into sleep when we did not deal with, when there's tension, when there's like obvious friction, when we don't get it. Okay, it happens. But when one of us is getting it, we will address it. And this can also be part of this ritual. And it changed our life, I would say. Or we would be on a different place when we would not have implemented it, this experiment. It's and when we don't do it for maybe 1 or 2 days, which also happens when one of us is falling asleep or comes later home or something, but in general we are doing it, and I'm missing it so much. It's like it's such a special, unique space. Yeah. And because just we can create it. It's so alive and unique and every day different.
Yeah, I hear you, because I know, for example, my own survival strategy, I can be a lone wolf and be really okay with like being with myself and like not whatever, be involved with myself. And this space that I would call like a check-in space, or, you know, even if you're going to bed, is like a checkout space. I think just to declare, saying, hey, that what we do is, let's sit on the couch. We kind of call it like that, or let's can we check in? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's, you know, 10 minutes, and it's really on the surface, and there's nothing really big. And sometimes it really opens to things that I didn't even starting noticing, but because there is this check-in space, then I can have this reflection. I can take the time to be, what's going on for me, but also, where are you? Like, where, because our inner world, I think, and it's the case for a lot of many people, are so rich. And especially in this, when we do this work of transformation or evolution, there's always, we're always practicing something and holding, you know, emotional healing processes here, or coaching here, or preparing for a space. And there's all this inner movement that is happening. But that, I think, I mean, one thing that I'm, you know, afraid of, or what I felt scared in sharing, is that these practices, like these rituals of check-in, or being space, or being, you know, where am I, where are you, is built on a context. It emerges out of a chosen, negotiated adult or more, or higher, like, context of relationship to responsibility and consciousness. Because for me, this part of checking emerges out of, I don't know who you are. I keep not knowing who you are. And so, okay, who are you now? Mm-hmm. What is your shape now? What is your research? What is your concern? What is moving in you now? But it starts with, I don't know you. And I don't want to know you. I want to be with you. Mm-hmm. And I think those are very two different things, of knowing somebody and being with somebody. And I think the knowing prevents me to be with him. And I get, like, pushed against those part of me that unconsciously wants to know. Mm-hmm. And it's really stupid things, but sometimes I go in the supermarket, and I used to do that with my family, is that I would buy the stuff that I think he would like, oh, I know he likes that. And then I put them in the cupboard, and they just go stale. And but I buy them because I know you like them. Yeah, but I don't want them. I don't want them right now. Mm-hmm. And that just is a mirror for me of being, okay, there was something to me that wanted to grab I know a part of him. Mm-hmm. And that's, so there's also this, okay, how did I get to the part of, I'm okay not knowing a person?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is super scary. And for me, but the charm is actually that, because coming to the point, not knowing a person, sometimes, like, what I found for me is even more accurate, is this the expression of spiritual Alzheimer, you know, because when you have this, you knew a person before. It's not that this is irrelevant. It was not happening, you know what I mean? But it's mm-hmm. also, it happened. But then I forgot. And then I get to know the person again, and I forget. And I get to know, but it's somehow building up, even though. So for me, this not knowing, for me, it was a good bridge. Meanwhile, I'm totally fine with saying I'm not knowing the person. But it was a bridge into this, because I still know some parts, you know what I mean? It's like there's, or I knowing in the way of, I had experience with a being together, which is also a knowing, but more not here in the brain, but a knowing on all 4 or 5 bodies. And so, yeah, I really love this expression of, like, spiritual Alzheimer. when I come to this. And people actually totally understand, even they have no PM background and or starting just in the field of self-development. They say, aha, okay, I know what you mean. They say, okay, yeah, this is good that I look at my partner like that. Okay, I forget what I thought it was.
Yeah, what I'm also hearing, what I'm thinking when you're speaking is this also what, like this check out or check in, this check in, like where are you and where am I? For me, there's this part of also of washing what was known, or washing what was familiar, washing, and to be able to then to start anew and to start over, to start in a non-familiar place. And as you say, is if you hold on, like holding on to a resentment, holding on to a story, holding on to like a belief or an expectation about the other, and then there's a crystallization that happens. So the faster the washing can happen, it just becomes this river.
Yeah. And like you said, it's so magical, right? When you can say, yes, we are story makers, and I have a story about you, or this is my story of the day, or all the stories of the day, and I can just tell them, and then they're like ching ching, and they're flying into I don't know where, but like they're out of my head. they are not disturbing me. Also, for me, it's really the night time. It's really shifting, that we are shifting into a new sphere, and it's also for me like this being cleansed and clean, and I go cleansed into the night, which is still, I think, not so like the value of the night time. It's not just sleeping, and I think it's not so known, or in modern society we are not appreciating nighttime so well, that it's also worth it to clean the vessel before you move into a next space. Like, but that's another side track. It's not like in relation to a relationship, but like and it's also very important to see that we are diving into a new space, and to clean up, like you said, all the resentments, expectations, assumptions, whatever we had through the day. So it looks like you're also doing this. Like, is it like and it's not like what I did with my partner, with Martin, is like in the before we go to sleep, but you just do it randomly, but it's definitely a part of your day. Or what do you think? What how is it?
I don't know if it's a daily practice. I mean, in a way, we are ongoingly checking in, and they can look very different. That can look really differently. But just sometimes I can feel, or so he can feel this. Okay, we need that space, and so it comes. I think before it was more regular, and now it comes out more out of a necessity, and born out of a necessity. I have this question for you, because we were talking about it when we were checking in about dying, about this ability to die in relationship, which is scary, especially with the people I think closer to us. It's even scarier because it's more raw, it's more vulnerable. There's like more at stake in a way, and at the same time, if we don't allow ourselves to die, then it's fake. Like, then it's a show, it's a pretense. And so, how did you die today? What was your death process today?
What was happening? Like, I'm just scanning. I'm scanning the day. There was this cooking moment. Okay. So what was happening is like, Martin has his Gremlin day today, and I was starting kind of to, like, I realized my Gremlin was also activated and tried to control him and give him orders. Like, we received guests today, and so I was cooking, and I realized, like, I was not giving him space. I gave him orders, but it was not that. Actually, I did it by myself already. It was, and I realized this, and I was like, okay, this is me. And then we were just standing and facing each other, and it was this moment of honesty to be visible with this. Okay, kind of, you got me, but you will not kill me. You just see it and honor me that I was there. And I'm like, and for sure I never can be sure. I don't know if he seeks revenge, or but until now he's not doing it so often. We're gonna catch each other then, right? But like, it's this being totally open and not knowing what will happen, but just like, yeah, I'm dying. And then after some minutes, the space shifts. But this was one of my dying moments today.
I want to share mine because I think it's a very typical masculine feminine conversation, and it was in the car, and I'm not a driver, so I have a lot to learn about what it's like to be a driver. But we were driving up to a cafe, and he was like, okay, where is it? And I'm like, here, turn right here, and then turn right here, and then I said, oh, and you can park next to that Ford. And he said, and he said it was lightness of saying, you will learn when you're a driver that to tell a driver where to park it's like frustrating. And it's frustrating knowing it's, in a way, it's condescending, it's like, you should, and it's this woman part of me that he asked me one question, where should I turn? And I told him, and then I just kept going. And I got lost in this ordering sort of what you were talking about. And he said, no, and he said, I asked you one question and I just needed the answer to that. And even my Gremlin wanted to answer back. But my Gremlin said, but you asked me. And he said, well, he said, anyway, I don't want to talk to your Gremlin. But then I realized he only asked me one question. And I think men are really clear like that when they ask one question, it's that question they want the answer to, and not like all the other questions that we come up with. What about this? And what about this? And what about this? And we would have, like the woman, probably the feminine would have this, but it's this everythingness, like everything's connected to everything. And so get lost in this everythingness. And so I had to step back and say, yes, I did. That question was not asked. And I really love, I love noticing this interaction between the masculine and the feminine. And it's not about just, like having it the way the masculine wants, because he also gives a lot of space for my feminine to be unfolded and blossoming and being everywhere and being intense. And but he has also his own boundaries about what he's asked for. So that was a great experience for me today.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and it's so, like you said, it's this realizing that you're kind of it's not about being wrong, because it's not right and wrong, and it's at the same time it feels like this. And being, for me, it's always like when I be in this state, or I am in this state, it's like it feels like I'm wrong, and to be okay that it feels like this is also this part of, it's a good indicator to see, like, now I'm dying, like now I'm dying, like, because people say, what do you mean when, like, you need to die first, like, and actually for me it's just the sensation in me, or like the story, like I'm wrong, and okay, it feels like I'm wrong, and it's not about that, and it feels like that, you know what I mean? Even it's not a feeling, but it's like this the story might goes on, and just to be with that, and admitting that, like you said, hey, okay, what was happening, what was really happening, and where I got hooked on my own story.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, I want to bring in like a facets of this dying first, and I would speak especially for women, is yes, there's this part of this dying of my unconsciousness came in and it was mirrored back, and that's basically, that's the news, like that's the there was a boundary, there was the consequences didn't, it didn't turn up the way I wanted it, and that's the mirror of I was coming from an unconscious purpose, and to allow that to be like that, and to whatever, be there, and that's this, like, being wrong and dying there. But I think also for the woman to say what we want is dying first. It is going first. And living, coming out of a patriarchy where what the woman has wanted in so many dimensions has been, crushed or ignored, or to saying what we really want, not what our partner wants, not what society wants, not what our mother wanted from us, like to find like this true wanting, and to say that without compromise, without trying to find a compromise, sort of what we were talking about last week. First, like to find a compromise before saying it. And I've been just, I know this is not really about me, but I've been in coaching with women who say, well, my partner, my husband doesn't listen to me. And until today, then I was having this realization, well, what is it that you want to say? And why is it that you're not saying it? Because you can say it, you can say it and say it without compromise. And, are you saying it before saying that you've not been heard? And that, I think, is really part of this, the path of us women being, like, getting initiated and moving into an adult relationship, is we really need to learn to say what we want moment to moment with no compromise. And that actually I've learned in my own personal relationship that that's what the men is waiting for, actually, because without that, they're lost about whatever the thing that's going on in us. They cannot read minds. They cannot read minds.
Yes.
And I that was a revelation. That was really a revelation for me, to moment, and to take that responsibility and that honor, to have a space for what I want.
Definitely. And for me, what is also coming with that is to be okay with all the fears we have, by not like also share the fears why I'm almost not be able to share something, like that this is always part of the ticket, because it's like saying what you want without sharing the fear, the real fear. Like, for example, like I have the fear that I'm losing contact with you, and we are drifting apart, and the relationship is not nourished. Like these fears, when it's like, I want to have an appointment with you every, I don't know, 3 days, and there's no reason for a man. It's like, okay, we can do that, but why? So there needs to be a why. If not, it's not attractive. And it's like, hey, I want to feel like a queen. I want to have spaces where we are thriving together, and we are nourishing our relationship space. Then it's like, oh yes, let's do that. But just give orders and give him kind of a to-do plan. It's like, yeah, it's not sexy to do the laundry just because the laundry needs to be done. Yes. And it's like, when I would say, hey, can we do that together, because then I would feel like I have a real partner on my side. It's a totally different story, right? And not like, okay, can you just do it and give orders? It's like
Okay, I have, if we're talking about practices, and there's many, I mean,
yes.
in a way, I was kind of thinking about it, and if we talk in terms of possibility management, like every map in Expand the Box and many of the processes in labs are about how to create extraordinary an archetypal relationship. And so every one of them would be a practice that would be worth, even checking in these conversations about, okay, how does this really work? Like feelings and Box and Gremlin, and Box is optional and all this stuff. But one practice that I really learned that it was a process for me to include it in my language is to say, I want to do this with you. And because when I say I want to do this, for me it was automatic that it was included the with you, but for men it is not. For men it is not. And so and to learn this, I want to do laundry with you. I want to go visit this restaurant, I want to go to this with you. And just those two magical words are really life changers.
That feels so good. Yes. I have a yes to this. And yes, I had also these experiences when I don't say it. It's just like they would then support me to do this, but they are just like supporters and provide us to my success, or to my what I want to do. But it's I can totally, how do you bingo this? Yeah. So we have almost 4:30 at your place and 5:30 at my place. So I feel it's a good ending for today's sharing, and maybe we're gonna go on. We need to negotiate that.
Also in like intimacy, our experiment in relationship. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm really grateful and super happy that we go this path, or we started to go somewhere together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christine.